to a very special Halloween edition of Vicki Explores. Follow me as we take a journey to uncover London's Necropolis Railway and visit Western Europe's largest cemetery. This video is to die for. Excuse me. To start with, what is Halloween? We might think of it today as quite a commercialised festival, but it actually dates back thousands of years and originally was a Celtic festival to mark the end of the summer months and the beginning of winter. It was at this time that the Celts believed the barriers between the world of the living and the world of the dead were passable, and so to protect themselves they would burn bonfires, tell fortunes and wear costumes to disguise themselves against any spirits that might be wandering the earth. And it's because of spirits and the dead that I've come here to the Leake Street Arches, which is where the first London Necropolis Railway opened in 1854. So what was the Necropolis Railway? It was literally a railway for the dead, and it was built because in the 19th century London's population was growing at such a rate that it couldn't cope with a number of people dying. There was nowhere to bury them. So in the 1850s an idea was hatched to build a cemetery outside of London, and the dead bodies could then be transported there via the railways. Today, Leake Street runs underneath the platforms of London Waterloo Station. You can probably hear some trains rumbling above me. It's also today an incredible artistic space for graffiti artists to display their work. But in 1854, it is thought that somewhere underneath here between York Street and Westminster Bridge Road was the first Necropolis Railway station. Whilst we don't know the exact location of the original Necropolis station, we do know where it moved to at the very beginning of the 20th century, and that is here at number 121 Westminster Bridge Road. The railway operated with some striking similarities to regular passenger services. For example, there were different class of carriages depending on the social status of the deceased, as well as the coffin carriages. There were also mourners' carriages, so that friends and families of the dead could travel with the body to the cemetery outside of London. And the location of that cemetery was Brookwood in Surrey, and that's where we're about to head now. I'm just exiting the station, which is not one of the original two stations that were built by the Necropolis Railway. They were located further into the cemetery via a branch line off of the main line from the station that you alight at today. They served different parts of the cemetery. So there was one on the north side, which is where the non-conformist, non-Anglican burials would take place, and one on the south side where the Anglican burials would take place. The south side station, I believe the platform still exists, so we'll go on a hunt for those. But as you can see, the cemetery is literally just metres away from the station. I've stumbled upon Railway Avenue. It's a very straight path, so I can only imagine that this is where one of the branch lines would come through further into the cemetery. Now, I'm making a huge assumption because there's nothing here to tell me otherwise, but do they look like the remains of platforms? Brookwood really is an incredible place to come and explore. It's beautiful and extremely peaceful, with the only sounds really being the birds in the trees, as well as occasional rumble of a train as it goes past. Thank you so much for watching. Have a very happy and terrifying Halloween.